children are a direct reflection of their parents
I
because in the
agree.
home, that's where you're learning everything from in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
Everything you learn and everything you absorb is coming straight from whether you have a two-parent home or a one-parent home.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone else is coming in and out of the door into
Mm-hmm.
your home. Then as you get to that older age, 11, 12, 13, you start to get exposed to more of the world because you and your friends are going to the mall. Y'all going to the show together. Y'all going here, you're going there, and you're seeing more. And then as you get older and more, you are experiencing more. But you already have been programmed based off of what's been going on in your household.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes, I was telling, I don't know who I was talking to, it might have been you and I or someone else, but I was saying it takes effort to intervene in situations with your kids as well as with any other person, whether it's friends or it's an intimate relationship, but it takes effort to do that. It's easy just to sit back and be like, whatever, and just
Yeah.
let it be because you don't want to step in and say something.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's,
What for? I think. Oh, go ahead. You.
well, I was just gonna say, I don't care for that. Even I think about friendships that I've had that ended, where I've always been the one where I will voice my opinion about something because I care about you. I'm not doing it out of judgment, and you should know me well enough. If we're at that stage within our friendship where we calling each other brothers and this and that, we've reached a point to where we feel so close and we have such an understanding of each other that that trust and respect and love and care for one another should be there. So when I'm talking to you about a certain situation, scenario, or something that occurred, I'm talking to you out of love. And if I'm coming with a certain tone, it's out of love as well. And but then in return, I have friends that would not do that with me. And I didn't like that. And then I find out later something else happened, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I knew." I'm like, "Why didn't
Why you
you
ain't tell me?
speak to me about it?"
Yeah.
And I remember one time a friend told me, "Well, I just felt like if I said something to you, you would just do this or do that." And I'm like, "Why does my reaction
Effect.
impact
Yeah.
you saying something to me because I'm not approaching it the way you think I should approach it? Because then now you're placing judgment on me."
Well, that's what I was going to say. But a lot of people, majority of the people do place judgment.
And
that's what I guess you know now,
and that's the problem. That's the challenge, and that's where you have to, at least for me, I like to have those conversations with friends and family to get to a point of understanding where you know that there should not be any judgment amongst us. And that's work. So even though we're having a conversation, and it's funny, because everyone will be in agreement. So you have a conversation of that magnitude and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that's so right. We shouldn't be judging each other, blah, blah, blah." But then they have not yet started to truly practice that.
That's what I was going to say.
So that type of trait. So because of that, it's still new. But then I'll say to them, I'm not expecting you to change overnight. And I was just having a conversation last night when we was at the lounge with some people outside. And I think the young lady name was Nicole, I believe. And I was telling her, the way you are acting and responding and the way you interact, the way you move and all these different things today is all of your experiences up to this point. So that's years of the making for you to display and demonstrate who you are to me right now. So any changes that you're looking to make, that's not going to happen overnight. And the challenge for us as individuals is, can we stay committed to making that change? Or do we fall back into the routine of what's familiar and what's comfortable to us?
Yeah.
Even though we know, and you and I've had this conversation, it's just like relationships. Even though this is a bad relationship for you, you stay in it because at least you know how to maneuver it. At least you know how to operate within it. It's familiar. Even though it's not good for you, it's familiar to you. So you stay in it because to step out of it and make changes and to pivot and move in another direction, that takes effort, that takes work, and that takes almost starting over. And people feel like, well, I don't have time to do that, or I don't want to go through all the ups and downs.
I don't want to cut you off, but I want to say, I want to interject because I've been thinking about that too, about, when you're in a relationship and maybe it's not like we say for you or whatnot. And, your views are different, but I do feel like relationships build you if you allow it to. Like if you are in a relationship with someone and it's not going the way you want it to go, I think that's an opportunity to teach yourself how to voice your opinion, teach yourself how to bring it to the table, even though if they don't receive it or not. Because I think sometimes we hold things within ourselves, like in a bad relationship, and we are judging the other person. This person doesn't do this. This person doesn't do that. It doesn't align with this. It doesn't align with that. But, sometimes what I'm realizing now, there is opportunity for my growth in relationships before I exit out of the relationship. Let me see how much I can grow from just being transparent with this person and seeing if that does trickle over to them and maybe they would start growing instead of kind of giving up. Because I do see people with the family dynamics. I feel like once the children are involved, we give up way too easy. Mm-hmm. We don't kind of hone in on the issues for the better good of the what we will say is, I was sad and I couldn't maneuver in this relationship and I was not being my best. So is it not a way to find out how we can be our best? Is it not a way to grow and learn within the relationship instead of giving up on the relationship? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. I do know that, but I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, no, it's so I feel like, and again, to me, when you get to the root of it all, it's self-awareness, self-discovery of who you are. Mm-hmm. So again, and we've had this conversation on the show probably a couple of years ago, where I don't think it's fair to you or the person you're in a relationship with to even start a relationship with anyone until you've discovered who you are. Because what you're doing is you are taking that person through your ups and downs of figuring out your own shit. And you're dragging them through all of that as you're trying to figure it out. And as you're trying to figure it out, there are moments when you don't even identify it within you. You're projecting it.
But what happens when you already have kids?
Well, but that's the thing. So again, that I was saying, when you get to the root, it goes to first self-discovery. So now let's say, okay, the self-discovery wasn't done. Like for a lot of us, that's usually later on you start to discover who you are and your triggers and blah blah blah. So now you're in a relationship, you have kids. Now it's, are you able to communicate with your partner?
Right.
Are you able to sit down and have a conversation and not be judging, but be willing to, you have two ears and one mouth for a reason. Listen twice as much as you want to speak to something. But that person has to be giving you the same respect as well, to where when you're talking, they're allowing you to talk. It's so much we hear, and this is the triggers, we hear a certain word or a phrase and it triggers us. And before I allow you to finish speaking, I'm jumping in, all defensive, trying to ensure that my value is not being lessened. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. And I'm not even allowing you to finish because I'm so in a defensive mode because we don't know how to talk to each other. And if I truly care and appreciate and love you, I would not be trying to change who you are. Like if this is who you are, I should have fell in love with that. Yeah. But then in a relationship, did you show me who you are in our beginning? Like, let's say the first year, because, I told you people, they do these masquerades where they present themselves one way because they think this is what you want. Mm-hmm. And then after so long, their true self comes out because they can only keep it up for so long. And some people can keep it up forever, but they have instance where they reveal them true selves. And if you're paying attention, you catch it. But then they catch themselves like, oh shit, I slipped. And then they get back into that. Yeah, people are good.
I'm telling you,
people are good.
I never realized that. I remember.
Some people live fake. They live a false depiction of themselves for the benefit of what they want out of that relationship and everything that comes with it. Status, you see it a lot of time with people of high value. So whether it's the male or the woman who's getting with the person of high status, they will fall into this masquerade and they will keep it up just for that status because for them, that's what they want.
So they are living in a delusional mindset. Because if you are putting on this whole act of this is who I think this person wants me to be, and so this is how I'm going to act to get, I guess, what they want. I don't know what they want. To get what
they want, but to me,
is it truly what you want?
But who am I to say? Who am I to ask that question? You see what I'm saying? Like I was just having this conversation with my son. I was telling him because he's making some big decisions and we've been having some really good talks, and I'm telling him, always understand there's only one person that you fully control and that you have the biggest impact on, and that is you. Because you control your thoughts. You control the decisions that you make. It's all on you. You can allow others to influence you. Mm-hmm. You can allow others to provide you guidance and direction, but you are making that final decision with everything.
Okay, with that, it's like teaching our kids, but do we tell them and give them that space to kind of realize that the things it takes time to control your thoughts, right? The thoughts that you might be thinking will be thoughts that's advertisement programmed or generational.
That comes with time.
So do we have that conversation? Because I did the campus tour today with my oldest at Winston-Salem State University, and that's where he's going. So he will be around, but, we was having a conversation about just having autonomy over your life and managing your life. When you're in college, it's going to be totally different because right now I'm kind of telling you what to do, or your dad is like telling
managing it. Or the two, you are managing his life, his decisions.
Right. So his mindset when he's starting to do it himself, his thoughts, I'm like, your thoughts really are not your thoughts yet. You have your thinking process comes from either your mom and dad or things you see on TV, things through technology, things through social media. So it's like because I was asking him about meditation and things like that, because now I'm introducing that to him. I was like, you're going to have to take the time out to go within to find your own thoughts, to find your own voice.
Yeah, because you can't determine when they would do that. Now, I think it's good to communicate that and put that on the table for them, but it's not on. So this is where when I say to you, I have appreciation for everyone, and it allows me to be at peace because I am not trying to dictate when you should reach a certain level.
Right.
Because
no timeline for you.
There's no timeline for any of us.
Okay.
We reach certain.
So you could be a 50-year-old man and you still ain't got this shit together.
But who are you to say you don't have it together? So that's the thing. That's where the judgment comes into place.
Who
am I to say that you don't have things together because it doesn't align with the way I approach life? Because the way I approach life works for Martin. The way I approach life doesn't work for Kurt. Doesn't work for Tiffany. But it works for Martin. And I'm the only one it needs to work for. So from the outside, when I'm looking at somebody else's life, I'm basing it off of everything that I would do.
Right.
Because it's my experience. This is all I know. That's the only thing. That's where the comparison comes in. Because I can only compare it based off of my life. Now, I can use other things out here in the world that I've seen and been a witness to from the outside looking in. But it's really the strength of my judgment is coming from the way I would do something. But again, who am I to be like, if Kurt wants to sit over there and do crack, and I'm like, Kurt, you shouldn't do crack. Wouldn't
it be your responsibility to tell your friend not to do crack though?
Well, again, it's one of those where if I say don't do it and you still do it, how am I to say that that's wrong for your life to do? Or what I'm saying? Like it's
that's wrong, Kirk.
We want to control, and I'm not.
I'm just saying.
I'm using that as a general example.
I got you.
So when you take that into so many different factors of decisions that are made in people's lives, when you simplify, who are you to tell someone what to do with their life?
Well, that's what I do.
Even if you think
understand what you're saying, and I think this is where like. I totally get how you appreciate people.
And real quick, so I'll just say this.
Okay.
So with that, it's one thing to allow people to live the lives they want to live it, but for our safety and our progression of civilization, this is where, and I've had this conversation with you, this is where we have to have laws in place. We have to have standards. We got all of those things.
That's where I was getting ready to take that.
So again, you had to have things in place to ensure that we're able to survive and continue to move along as a civilization. Because if not, then we're emotional creatures.
So that's my
thing. On a bad day, I could just hurt someone.
Okay, so that's when you would tell that person, hey, I'm not trying to make him change his life decisions, or maybe, but crack might lead you down a road.
Well, I'm not saying you don't. So you've had this conversation again. I'm not saying you don't still talk to the person, interact.
All right.
I'm saying, and again, this is where I say, and I think I probably only had this conversation with you because I a lot of times I don't dive into it so deep with people. I just allow them to run with their thoughts. But as I was saying to you one time, if I respond to something a certain way, do not take it for granted that response for that one scenario that we're talking about is my response to every scenario.
Yeah.
That's just one piece.
Okay.
I am very diverse in my approach to day-to-day living. Mm-hmm. And my response or my approach to one thing is not going to be the same response and approach to something else, regardless of how similar they are. And it also could be based off of the level of the relationship that I have with this person. Like it's so many different factors and variables that play into it. So I never like when I give a response to something and someone takes that and runs with it and makes that the end all for everything that now that I do. Yeah. But then this is when I'm like, sometimes I want you to run with it. I want you to make all these crazy assumptions because I'm like, to me, you the ass because you're not even trying to get clarity and true understanding of, well, okay, well, Martin, what do you mean? Does that apply to this as well? And
right, and some
this?
People don't. They'll take it
because they taking their run with it, and now because they almost get like, oh shit, he would do that, and then what they do is they won't talk to me about it. Mm-hmm. They'll go talk to this person and that person and that person, and then I'll be out somewhere and someone will be like, man, I heard you would do that. I'm like, what? Because I'm like, I didn't tell you that. Yeah. They're like, where'd you hear it from? And they heard it from a person who heard it from another person who's actually friends with the friend that I'm friends with.
So they having all these conversations over that one thing that you said because they went.
That's the craziness with people. But that's the one thing I was that I enjoy about people. It's the same thing that, to me, that's why I always say to you, human beings are the most interesting creatures.
We are.
Out here because we're the most inconsistent. We're the most... We're all over the place.
Yeah,
we're all over the place. As much as we try to act like we're in control,
I'm so not in control.
Yeah, we're all over the place. To me, it's it's the gift and the curse. Our intelligence is what makes us great, and it what also hinders us.
Well, I'm being humbled right now because I'm learning that I'm not in control because I have spent a large majority of my life really not stepping outside of things that I can control, right? Because I was a control freak. I wanted to plan it out. I wanted to, I need the conclusion. I need the climax. I need the introduction. Like I would see things just like if I'm writing a play. And when it didn't come out the way I wanted it to come out, it was always an issue for me. And I would even kind of like go back and try to tweak it within my mind of why it didn't go this way and da. But now I'm realizing at the wonderful age of 43 years around the sun. That's what they say. Okay. So, I realize
it takes 300 it takes a year for the earth to go around the sun. So that's your, that's how you're saying it?
Yeah.
You do know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why you like, yeah.
Because I'm like just saying, I'm just saying it because I really don't like age. I really don't like aging myself, but since the society,
it's all man-made,
right? Yeah, so yeah. Like, but that's why
we
I'm
truly
saying
don't have no idea how old, if they're, what age anybody is.
We don't even really know if that kind of really happens.
Right. Well, all we're doing is, as we do with everything, we created a method to track
some
people. Right. So we're like, okay, you came into this world on this day, and now we're tracking you from that point on, along with that social security number that they stamp you with,
and this is
follow your movement.
It's a sidebar, but I always felt like I've always existed. So I never really like the age thing. It's like I'm ancient already. Like I don't never remember not being or like not ending or beginning, or I don't remember that shit. So why am I even tracking it? But anyway. And then I lost my train of thought because
I'm not surprised. Women have smaller brains than men. So
let me tell you something about women. This is another thing I am learning about women because I am going through the menopause, right? So
you stepping into that.
I'm stepping into that.
What is that?
And it has, it's another thing that kind of humbled my ass too, because I've always been that woman that I understood the hormones and I understood when we get emotional, but I've never been a woman that being like overly emotional, right? Like I always kind of, like my mother is not. So I always kind of kept it together. But this shit right here.
Yeah.
When I tell you emotional, like I've never experienced before, and I'm
is
trying.
It like a charge.
It's a charge. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Heightened. It's heightened to the point where if you are not in let me back up. If you don't have people around you to bring you back to reality, you'll go with something and run with it, yo. And this is why we need men. Because y'all don't got, I'm telling you, it's a science to it. We don't understand the science to the man and the woman like we need to learn. Because we don't go through that. But it is a dynamic that needs to be there because our hormones, it exists just because. Let me tell you something. I was doing research.
Okay.
So when I was pregnant, at the end of my pregnancy, I went through this hormonal change that's called nesting.
With your first or your second?
Both of them.
Okay.
Because your hormones tell you to get the environment ready, the baby is coming, right? And so you're like literally cleaning shit that don't need clean. You're picking up shit. You're moving shit. Because their cells is telling you what the fuck to do.
Right.
But if you didn't research it, you wouldn't know. You're just kind of just operating because this is what you feel like doing. And so when I went to the doctor and I was just like, yeah, I'm cleaning up everything and I can't, like, it's just like, it seems like it can't get right. And he was like, oh yeah, you are nesting. And I was like, what? And then he told me about my hormones. It's getting ready for a child. Okay. So every time the 28 days of a woman's cycle come along, right? It prepares for a child regardless if you're having a child or not.
Right.
So your hormones go to a certain level and you start analyzing shit in your environment. This is where our hormones go. People would think we're crazy because we're just analyzing the environment because a baby is coming. Because this is what our hormones are telling us to do. So every little thing, especially if you're with a mate, like every little thing he's doing, you might pick up on it and like, oh, he needs to change that. But it's not that you're picking at him or anything. It's just a hormonal thing because you have to analyze an environment before you bring a baby into the world. And a lot of women don't know these things. And so we are looked at as crazy. A lot of men don't know these things. So they look at us as being crazy. So it is, when you say get to know yourself, like, and become aware, it's really deep, because you definitely need to know how your hormones work, how your cells are working within yourself, how you can control your thoughts and your mind,
Well, it takes time. And, I remember I heard someone say,
I hope somebody can take that and run with it.
Say what?
No, I was saying, I hope somebody can hear that and run with it, because it's been profound for me to learn about it recently.
Yeah. But they say there is no, I always say there's no blueprint to any of this. So everyone is just going about it just based off the best thing they think in each moment. So each moment, because I say that as far as the majority of times, I believe there is no intention to do harm in situations. The outcome was harm and there was pain and things like that, but the intent was not there. But then it's like, oh shit. But with that, they were someone was saying that this is the most complex instrument, and as far as the body and all of this, but there is no instruction manual to it.
Is it not?
We're still learning. Like it's not like you came into the world with the book saying,
well, that's why I think it's hidden. I think it's hidden knowledge.
Yeah, well, not only that, but we're all different. Like I can't give you the manual that works for me.
Okay, I know we're all different, but we all male and female biology.
Well, yeah, but when you get into,
it's a certain way we operate just by.
Well, that's just the base.
So let's start with the base,
right? But we don't even have that. So, but if we did outline just the foundation of the a male and a female, XX and XY, you just get the foundation. But then when it comes to self-awareness and self-discovery is going to be different for everybody. You can't put us on an assembly line and everyone just doing the same thing, because we're just so different.
Like 80% of the people you can.
Yeah, well, that's because in the world, what is it? It's 85% follow, 10% lead.
That's what I was going to say. 85% of the people.
5% are the ones who are, are aware of everything that's going on. And that 10% wants to ensure that 5% either decreases, but they definitely don't want to see it increase in size.
So what you're talking about is the smallest percentage of people that are aware. A lot of people are not aware, and you can actually tell them what to do or it's
because it's easy. It goes back to what we were saying before. It's easy to just fall in line, and the old saying is standing outside the box. So you got everyone in the crowd, you're just another face in the crowd with everyone else. And then you got you that's over here. Well, everyone can see you over here, and a lot of people don't want all eyes on them, because now they feel like every move they make, every decision, whether right or wrong, is going to be critiqued and is going to be judged. And some people can't deal with that, or at least at this point where they are in life, they're not able to deal with that. And that does come to me, in my own personal opinion, I feel like that comes from when you think about nurture versus nature, that comes from the nurturing within your support system growing up, within your household. What was going on within your household. Now, you always have those who can break the chain of things that were repeated, that were not good, as far as you being productive in the world and just more of a positive individual. But for a lot of people, they don't break that.
You're right.
That chain. And then you have those who have all of the support, and they're provided all of the knowledge and all of the insight to be successful, but they don't apply it. They don't use it. So it goes back to, it's just no blueprint to none of this. And it's what I said to you, understanding that there is nothing to understand.
Yeah.
And that's the piece within. It's like, just be in the moment and enjoy this. Like, people are so hung up on trying to be this or be that, and then not allowing themselves to enjoy the moment that they're in.
Okay, well, I like your statement. I understand there's nothing to understand, but I do want to say, like, I just don't understand. Okay, you sent me a clip, and it was a clip on transgenders is a popping
topic right now.
Yes, and I don't understand why they're pushing it. I don't understand.
On the kids. That's my trouble.
It's like, what agenda is an agenda? And so for me, being a mama bear, like, that makes my hair stand up. Like, what is happening? Yeah. What is the end goal here? Why are you pushing it? Why is it a brand? Why is it an advertisement of, that you look at yourself in the mirror and you see yourself as a boy? Like, what? Yeah. Why are you even putting they're impressionable? They're like sponges. They're just gonna think it, but just because my son thought he was a damn Spider-Man.
That's part of controlling. To me, that's just part of controlling the young mind, because again, the mind is not fully developed until around the age of 27 on average. Mm-hmm. Some are earlier, but it's around that 23, 24 age, but on average it's 27. So that's why when you look at the military, 18, they get in the mind while they're still impressionable.
Yes.
Police force, 21.
I don't know what they're going to do about the military.
It's still impressionable. Go in
as a man and
fire department is 18 because the mind is still impressionable. Mm-hmm. So, of course, they want you at a young age. So now they're getting even younger with it. School is, that programming and training to get you to think a certain way. Mm-hmm. And all of those things for, whatever the greater goal is that's being, thank you. I didn't ask for another sip, but I'll take it.
This is really good.
It is. But, it's, so with that, so going back to, not to get off topic, going back to like with the transgender. So I'm one, and you and I've had this conversation. I could care less what you identify with or whatever. I appreciate people just being people. It's when, like you were saying, it's when you are trying to put your thoughts and your ideas onto a child who has no recollection of truly what it means to be a male or a woman yet.
Right. And put your ideas on me because you want me to conform to how you feel you should be called. Like you're changing, you want me to change my grammar. You want me to change.
Yeah, which is crazy to me, the fact, but to me that's a weak mind. Like to me, all of those people are, in my opinion, they're just weak. Ooh. And they need validation. They need to, those are the ones who would never, as they say, part of the cool crowd. Like they would never, invited to the parties and this and that. So they're looking for, it's the same way with, people who were picked on and then they become a police officer. They're given some type of empowerment where they can now change, that they can impact somebody else now.
So this is a part of self-discovery and finding out who you are, not changing who you are, but being okay with who you are.
Yeah, and they're not taking the time
out to do that.
Yeah, and you might go through it and still say, you know what? I've discovered this. I've discovered why I don't feel comfortable in this body. Like, you understand that a child has no way of understanding
why, because my parents pushed that I had girl tendencies.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I just feel like the parents are pushing it. It's some parents with mental illnesses that's pushing it on their children. Yeah. I feel like it's a mental illness.
Somebody was saying, when they talk about it, because when you talk to some psychiatrists, they say it is a mental illness to think that you want to be a different gender than what you was born as. The same way as some people feel like they should be disabled, or they should be
some people think that
blind.
They're fat and they're skinny and they're bulimic.
Right. So it's like we create all of these reasons for these type of feelings that people have, but now because this is been so publicized and has been so is so sensitive to the way that the world has kind of taken it on, that nobody wants to talk against it, and they're allowing it, and it's doing like I saw something, I think I shared it with you, where there was, I think it was a swimmer, and a female swimmer, it's just funny to even have to say that, a biological female was competing against a transgender female. Yeah. The transgender female and her tied, but the people at the establishment said, even though the two of you tied, we want to give the medal and award to the transgender person because of the way it looks, for the outward appearance of that, for, everyone from the outside. So
can we say that it's newsworthy? And it's going to be like the headliner in media. And that is the only reason why that they are pushing it now, because it's trendy. And then that is an issue with a whole country. Yes, because if the main news is the Kardashians, like why this is, I think we have lost it as a nation. And I don't know what it's going to take to...
we're going to come back. We talked about it before. The pendulum was swung so far to the left. And as it made its way back to the middle, it kind of drifts back and forth. It's never in the middle, but it's just close enough to where things were operating pretty good. And then it swung all the way over to the right. And eventually, I don't know, 20, 30, it's going to take some decades. And it's going to come back again. And we're going to look back the same way we look back on everything that goes on within this country or the world. And we like, wow, I can't believe, as we do with anything that now becomes history, that becomes the past. We look back and be like, I can't believe that went on. I know. And then we place judgment on it, So,
question. Okay, what do you feel like was the greatest timeline of American history?
What do you mean, the greatest timeline? Like something that impacted history?
It was good. Like, it was stable. It was productive. When is can you think of a productive moment in American history? What about you, Kurt? Can you think of a productive moment in American history? Like if we had this.
Because you're saying Americans, you're talking about in the United States. You're talking about history in the United States.
Yeah, the history of America. Yeah.
I would say define productive.
When the families were excelling, the school systems were educating the kids at at a high level.
I don't think school system ever.
What was the objective? So we can go back to the very beginnings when, there were native people here, there were Vikings here. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about modern times, when Europeans showed up,
let's do Europeans, when Europeans showed up, because I don't know.
So when Europeans showed up, I mean, the fact that they were able to come figure out how to survive and thrive would be highly productive.
Yes.
And then when they separated from Europe and we became the United States, we continued to thrive and survive and move westward, right? So we started to go, and so things were very productive, but there was big challenges that came along with that, including wiping out whole populations of people that were already here and taking things over. And that's always kind of been human nature. In modern times, you had the Industrial Revolution, which was probably one of the top productive times, although depending on which numbers you look at, people will say there's never been more productive time than there is today. But when the Industrial Revolution came, you had factories and all of these things that were really pushing to generate wealth for a lot of people in the country. But you also had at that time child labor and massive domestic abuse, and also, mortality, child mortality, and all of those things were much higher. And then you move to Depression and then post-Great Depression. Mm-hmm. I think when you think about, I'm not political at this point in my life, when you think about the modern day Republican Party, when they say Make America Great Again, mm-hmm. they're talking about post-Depression, post-World War II, that period between the late 30s, early 40s, up until the 70s, maybe early 60s. There's about a 20-25 year period where you can say there was a quote-unquote middle class that was created. Mm-hmm. And that middle class was created with a lot of government support. Governments had free education for everybody who came back from these wars. They had a lot of things. But left out in that was Black people, any minorities. Right. It was really good for white families, mm-hmm. and you had this middle class. And there was also a lot of regulation that came along that controlled banks and everything else and what they could do. But then in the 70s, Nixon, and into the 80s with Reagan, yeah. They started pulling away a lot of this stuff, and you started seeing the separation. And now, right now, it's been, in my opinion, we're going back to that pre-Depression era, yeah, where you've got kind of owners and you've got everybody else. So that's my opinion, and okay. I'm not an expert, but that is my opinion on why I said, like, what do you consider family, things like that. I think as I sit here and listen to a lot of what you've been talking about, one of the things we need to keep in mind is that we have innate personal biases. And so what you or I consider normal or best or good is not the same as what somebody else considers that. Yeah. The question is, what happens when you scale it up, and what are the outcomes, and what do you want the outcomes to be? And I just, I don't know, I don't want to sound negative or nihilistic or anything, but I don't see much difference between when I look back on human history. I see cycles that repeat over and over and over again. That's what I see the same. I don't see like there's one period where things were better or worse or otherwise.
It's just different because of the times, as far as the advancement of civilization. But how they say, the game is still the same. Nothing has changed. Like things are still playing same. It's just the game hasn't changed. The players are changing. Technology has made the game look different, but it's still the same. Like it's still where kind of like what Chris said, we're still just people. Where as I always say to you, it's our imperfections that makes us perfect. Like we're supposed to be imperfect, and being imperfect is what makes us. So what do you think? Perfect.
What do you think this is? What are we doing? What is it all for?
But that's the thing. Who knows?
It's like it's almost, how can you tell someone it's great to exist and to be in the moment when you don't have a purpose or an outline, or like you could do what you want type of mentality. I don't understand. Like it has to be, in my mind, and I do understand. That's why you was like, it's just nothing to understand. Yeah. But it's just like, if that's the case, then why am I trying to be the best me? That's where I go to if I hear that statement. It's just like, what the fuck? Why am I trying to be the better Tiffany, the better version of myself?
I just want to say, this is what a lot of heavily religious people bring up, is how can you be a moral person without some sort of book or God or something like that behind it. If you believe that there is no plan, if you believe that this is all really chaos at the end, right? It's evolution, whatever evolution is. But if you believe that, then what's important is what you deem to be important. And I would make the argument that what's important is from a genetic standpoint or a chromosomal standpoint, you talked about, going through the change, as they call it, and all that, is what's important is the next generation.
So that's what we need to focus on.
But that's your genes drive you. And so the focus often is, how do we make things better than the way we left them for the people coming up? But the challenge is to find better. So for
just productive.
But it's different for
for people that consider themselves, for instance, trans, to them being accepted would be better in society.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And for people that consider themselves very conservative religious and believe in Bible and everything else, for them continuing that on is what is better. And the truth is there is no better. We need to decide what is meaningful to us and understand that is what is meaningful in the universe, and then work towards that. So that is why we make the decisions we make. And in my opinion, that's where we are, and that's what I've come to in my years on this planet, is that there is no correct path. There's a million paths.
It's a million.
And we need to figure out what's best to us.
But I think all the paths lead to everyone just wanting to be loved. Everyone wants to feel accepted. Everyone wants to feel loved. And when we grow up in environments that may lack thereof, then we make decisions in our lives that may take us down some different roads that makes it harder for us. But at the end game, you're still trying to seek out to be loved. Like the transgenders is trying to find peace to fulfill whatever void they have. So for me, it's just, okay, if we can get back to just loving everybody, but then that's really broad, because what is love to you? What is love to you? Well, everybody has a different perspective.
It's always going to be, again, it's understanding that there is no, like I always said, there's no blueprint to none of this. We keep trying to create an outline of what life should be. And kind of even what Kurt was saying, it's going to be different because we're all different. So what I define it to be and what purpose is to be is going to be completely different than you. So we're all going about it our own way. Mm-hmm. But it's getting to where if I can appreciate your point in the path you're taking without trying to control your path, and say, well, no, you need to align with the way I'm moving.
Yeah, but what if I'm one of those people that want to go shoot up the classroom?
Yeah, well, that's why we have to have, again, laws and you have to have things in place because of that. Because we are everywhere.
Yeah, but
you can't be in someone else's mind. You can't create a purpose. It doesn't matter what you was to put in place. Everyone is not going to be happy with it because we're all different. We're all individuals who think different. And some of our thinking is going to be, like you said, shooting up the place. To you, that's wrong. To that person, they feeling justified in that moment. And you can't tell them they're not justified in that moment. Later on, maybe they rethink it afterwards. But like I say, we're all, in hindsight, we're all knowledgeable of what just took place because now it's already taken. But you can't say what the outcome is going to be of something that hasn't taken place yet. You could just make an assumption. You can do as much analyzing and research.
I don't know. If I say you touch that stove, it's going to burn your ass.
But you don't know until you actually do it.
I know because I done
but
touched
you've already experienced it. So again, you're speaking from a point of already
that's my thing.
The knowledge of it.
There's recency bias. So because we can only live when we're alive, whatever happens when we're alive is the most important thing to us, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. But the truth is that people that touch the stove too often, that problem sorts itself out. people that want to shoot up schools, that problem will sort itself out. And the way it may sort it out is that everyone is dead. And if that's the case, then the problem has sorted itself out. Okay. But genes want to continue on. Genes are selfish. And they just want to get to another generation of replication. And so one of the things is, even though it seems like, oh my God, there's so many school shootings, there's always been terrible things. Back in the day, like I said, during the Industrial Revolution, we used to send kids into coal mines.
Yeah.
Right. I know.
Kids used to die in industrial accidents all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot of people going, oh my God, we need to fight against this. And there was a battle, and it sorted itself out. And I think what we're going through long term with guns and everything else, like, that will sort itself out, because it will have to. The genes want to continue on. But it's very difficult to see that when you're in the middle of it.
Right.
It's like, when your leg is falling off, that's the most important thing, and that's all you care about. You need to get that taken care of. When in the grand scheme of things, you losing a leg doesn't matter.
Right. So. Well, I like that because I feel like my mission is to make sure that the genes that carry on have a better tomorrow, or what I think is better. And that gives me a more of a purpose of being here, because it is a dark hole that you can go down when you don't feel like it is a purpose, or, that's when you can go and shoot up anything and kill anybody. It's because you don't see the other side of the rainbow, or you don't see why this exists and why am I here. Yeah. So you get caught in that. Yeah. And I've got caught in that. So I do understand there's people that had way worse life than I have. So I can only imagine, if you haven't experienced any type of love or any type of encouragement, how you can get to that other side, So I do think I like what you're saying about the genes want to carry on. I'm gonna have to I will embody that, Kurt. Because with these animals that's in my house, taking a segue. So I am fighting. I'm in a war. It feels like I want to kill all of nature right now. And I love nature.
Yeah.
I do. But it's just like, now it's just me against nature right now. They're just doing what they supposed to do. They're feeding on me and my kids in my house that I just moved into.
I mean, we always have, they're microscopic, but we got stuff living on us now.
Right now.
So.
And so it made me kind of wonder, like, damn, like, now I'm in kill mode right now, right? Yeah. So, like, that can happen. But they're just surviving. They're just living. And now I want to murder all of them, But this was a great conversation. This has been a great... Thank you for chiming in, Kurt. This... Screwball peanut butter whiskey was a great help of the conversation. It was amazing. Y'all should go get you some, right? And I'll go ahead and let you kind of tell the social media platforms that we can be accessed on.
As always. You can find us on all social media outlets.
No.
All social media outlets, from Apple to Spotify to Anchor, Google, YouTube, with just Brabell Speaks, Instagram, TikTok as well. We do always say, if you have thoughts, comments, suggestions, or questions about any topics, you can always reach out to us at brabellspeaks03@gmail.com.
And this has been an episode of Random Thoughts. Thank you, Kurt, the greatest engineer in the world.
Yes.
Without him,
the last 3
this would not be possible,
internationally
and I really am grateful for Kurt. And until next time,
yes.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.